listening to the Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technological advanced silhouette decoys on the market. And Vortex Canada, the force of optics.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430, episode 71, and another good one coming up tonight. We have got all the way from Stittsville, Ontario, about an hour and a half east of where I'm located, about 20 minutes away from Mark. We've got Phil Savi from PVS Gamecalls, who Dave and I had the pleasure of meeting last weekend at the 2K21 Punisher Waterfowl Fowl Weekend. So we had a chance to meet with Phil Savi. I'm going to call him Savi, so that's what you guys will hear him referred to as. We got to meet Savi at that weekend, hung out with him. Him and Dave bonded, became best friends over tone boards. They held hands for a little bit, and now here he is. He's a guest on the show. So as usual, save your joke, Dave. I know you're waiting. Save your joke, Dave. So as usual, Mark is in Ashton, just outside of Ottawa. Phil, you know what? I don't even know. Phil, where are you now? You're no longer in the dirty schwa.
Skoogog. This is like the second episode.
I know it's the second episode, but I don't.
Port Perry.
There you go. Port
Lake
Perry.
Skoogog, the Kawartha Lakes.
Yeah, right next to Skoogog. Skoogog should be that's what we should say.
Skoogog, okay. Philly is in Skoogog, and we've got Dave up in Kincardine. Apparently, Jeff Coates finds it extremely funny the way that I say Kincardine. So, yeah, he gets me to say it all the time, which is super funny. But
you can say Kincardine.
Kincardine. And as I said, we've got Savi coming to us from Stittsville, just outside the nation's capital. Savi, thanks for coming on. I know you weren't given a whole lot of notice on this. We met on the weekend. Dave mentioned it to you while you guys were geeking out, and then I asked you, I think it was on Monday, and you were like, yeah, let's do it. So welcome, man. Great to see you again, and thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, honestly, thanks for having me. I'm like a little school kid. I'm got super excited when you asked. This weekend was awesome. It was great to meet all you guys. I had a blast. I mean, you can't go wrong with shooting ducks over water. It's probably one of my favorite pastimes, and talking about calls with Dave was awesome too. Yes, we will talk about tone boards later, but we'll keep it PG for now.
Hey, Mark, guess what Savi brought to camp? Moose bologna. And boy, it is as good as it sounds.
It was even better when he made moose bologna newfie steaks.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought more, because that one piece did not last like 10 minutes with the guys at the camp.
No, it was.
But yeah, that was a moose we got in Quebec, just north of Tremblant last year. So it was really good. We were there for a week, shot on the first day. The rest of the week, we just have to pretty much drink the beer, so we have a lighter load on the way out.
Wonder what that's like to get an animal on the first friggin' day of the season.
It doesn't happen often. It was honestly one of those flukes, so we took advantage of it, and the weather was nice too, so it was great.
I was talking to Dad today, and I was like, "Hey, have you been down looking for your moose yet?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I've been down." He said, "But I'm stopped now because we only got a bull only tag." And he was like, "The rut is on now." He said, "So I'll wait until the rut's over before I go back at it now." So anyways, enough talking about moose hunting. Let's talk about birds. So Savi got to spend a couple hunts with me in the boat, and everybody that's listening, I want to give you an idea of just who this guy is, and Dave will probably touch on it a little bit more. So as we said, Savi owns PVS Gamecalls out of Ontario. Fairly new calls that are out. Not a lot of people know about it, but we're going to fix that starting here tonight. But to give you an idea of just how great a dude this fella is, I had said to him, I said, listen, make sure you bring some calls down to camp because some fellows will probably want to buy them. So make sure you bring some calls. He was like, yeah, okay, I'll bring some calls. And you know what? Everybody that, I shouldn't say everybody, but there was a few fellas there that had calls that weren't working, weren't sounding right. And, you know, Savi just took the time, and regardless of whose call it was, he worked with the caller, made sure that it was tuned up, sounded right for that caller, not even worrying about his own stuff. So give you an idea of just a really good guy just to be able to do that. So I wanted to get that out there, Dave. I may have stole your thunder there because I know you were probably going to say something like that too.
Oh no, exactly. Like every year I always bring my tuning kit with all my extra corks and reeds and stuff. And people don't understand that like the cork will actually like deteriorate over time and you should change it out. So every year it's like, okay, this call's not sounding good. And well, you change the cork out and look, it's almost like a new call again. But this time, like I'm a 5.5 hour drive and I had to work. So then I show up, I'm like, okay, who needs a call done? And everyone's like, oh no, this other guy got it. Like, it's good. And I'm like, oh, I can start drinking. So it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it was my pleasure. I got to know the guys even better. I know some of the guys really appreciate it. And I told them like, look, it's all these calls are serviceable. A lot of people don't know that, as you mentioned. And again, just going back on like more a philosophical side of it, you know, it's good to know how to either repair or recycle some of the stuff that you already own, especially in gear. So, you know, preventing that existing call to either be tossed or going to landfill, it's just a good practice to, you know, teaching the guys how to service them, teach the guys how to tune them also, because that's a big issue in the industry. I know, especially with the custom calls, is that every guy will take a call and blow it differently. So I tune a call from my way, I give it to another guy, the call sounds like shit. Or vice versa. He has a call that he sounds great with it, he passes it to me and I can't blow it. So it's good to have that one-on-one interaction with the end user. So whoever's using the call, and just tune it exactly the way they want. And at the end, they're happy, I'm happy, and we just build a better like hunting relationship that way. It's, you know, trust that's getting passed around.
And taking with what Phil said there, like if someone's going out and they're looking to buy a new call, don't be afraid to blow that call. Like when Phil had all his calls there, he had, was it 2 or 3 different, well, he had the Woody call, the number 1 and number 3 there, right? And I tried them and like one fits you and maybe another one doesn't. So try the calls. If you're looking for a hunting call, try the call before you buy it. Maybe it doesn't fit you. Like just because I really like a PVS call, it might not fit my blowing style, but it is something that you can work with, right? So sorry, go ahead, Phil.
I was gonna say, like, that's just it. And like I think the biggest one is mostly the goose calls. Goose calls are usually harder to break. But if you buy a call that has the gut system that is tunable, then you have a call for the rest of your life. When you get the tone boards and the reeds that are adjustable, then you got a lot of option. And as a caller, let's say when you're first starting out, you can only do those honks, those single honks. That's great. That's enough to land some birds in the spread. But if you're progressing, you want to try like a multiple of like speed clucks and honks and moans, then, you know, having those calls being adjustable, you can adjust it as you progress as a caller. So I always tell people, like, if you first time getting a call, sometimes I tell them to avoid getting those very, very cheap calls, because those calls usually are fixed tone board. You can't adjust them whatsoever. And I tell them, like, you know, these are good options to start. The guts inside are serviceable. And then, you know, it's a better value for your investment.
I'm big on starting with those Delta waterfowl calls, the ones that you get for free every Delta event.
Yeah.
Just keep one in the truck, and then like you can blow it all year long. And then if someone steals the calls out of your truck, it's like it's just a Delta call. We'll go to another banquet and get another one.
Yeah. Eventually I'd like to be able to providing that many volume to those events, because I do donate to some of those Delta Waterfowl Ducks Unlimited The one I just donated a set of calls to is the Safari
Club International.
Yeah, International Safari Canada. Just submitted the calls. Their banquets tomorrow night. But I just gave them a collection of turkey calls, a wood call, and a grunt call and a mallard call for those events. And they're going to go in silent auction or a live auction. But eventually I want to be able to increase my volume because I'm still a custom call maker. But maybe down the road, we'll see. I'd like to produce more or get some mass produced. Hopefully still manufactured in Canada. That's one of my big things. Get it manufactured this side of the pond. So when there's, who knows, if there's another pandemic, there's not going to be a shortage of getting the material or getting the stuff from overseas. It's already going to be on this side. But yeah, those calls out, those events, they're great for starting. And again, they're great little calls. They're polymer calls. You can beat those up. They're still going to work. But hopefully in a couple of years, 10 years, hopefully I can supply a large amount of calls to those events.
Those Delta.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say those Delta calls are also good if like you have nieces and nephews and you really want to get back at your brother. So you give them to your nieces and nephews to learn how to call with. Yeah. Just blow into them. Who cares? Yeah. And it's best to practice in the house. Like,
oh yeah. Well, I tell a lot of the guys, they say they have their partners or their wives that they don't like it when they call in the house. I tell them just call in the truck where you're driving. And that's the majority of guys I know when they're practicing, they're just practicing while they're driving. Yeah. So it's like instead of drinking a Coke bottle, you're blowing a call. So hopefully it's not too much of distracting driving. But
hey, Philly, do you when you're cruising around in the cruiser, when you're cruising in the cruiser, are you do you have a duck call or a goose call up to your lips?
But I
not anymore because the other Phil, sorry.
You're savvy. You're savvy. That's Philly.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I normally don't bring them to work, but I may have one night.
You know what would be awesome is when Philly gets back on the bicycles, when he starts doing bicycle patrols and he's got his lanyard around his neck.
His lanyard will hang down longer than his shorts.
Well, that's not hard. That's not hard.
Yeah.
That's some shorts.
For all you listening, get the mental picture going.
Yeah.
I brought out a turkey diaphragm one night like years ago and was driving around and was chirping it on the loudspeaker in the scout car, just freaking out people.
Yeah, I dare say.
I've done that at work.
I mean,
so I'd like to be able to get Vitch and Savvy together. And the reason why I'd like to get the two of them together is I want to see who could outdo who on the extra stuff that's brought to the hunt. And the reason why I say this is because so Savvy gets in my boat right off the bat. My GPS craps out on me, needs batteries. I'm like, shit, got no batteries. He says, I have batteries. Awesome. So he goes and gets batteries. Then we're setting up the Lucky or Logan McNulty's Mojo, and the pole that I have doesn't work. So in his Yeti bucket, he's got a bale of baling wire, and his pliers and a jerry. What did you call it? You use a French word for it.
French word, the broche à foin.
Yeah. So he starts jerry rigging this friggin' Mojo to a piece of PVC pipe and jams that in, and he's got that Yeti bucket with the that little carry-all thing that you can attach to the Yeti bucket with all the pockets. He's got a cranberry full of trinkets and little odds and ends.
Well,
so you don't have the $60. You don't have the $60 Yeti bucket. You got the $140 Yeti bucket.
Yeah, well, I got a lot of family that love me. So they bought me these gifts, so I'm not going to complain.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but no, that's just a habit of, I guess, product of my environment. I grew up in Northern Ontario, so a lot of the time it's, if you drive out to a spot and you didn't bring your gear, you're screwed. So just bring as much stuff as possible.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought I was going to get chirped about that bucket because it is a Yeti bucket and it is an expensive bucket just to hold some ammo and some haywire. But hey, I was
Hey, it's all
comfy
good, man. Hey,
and had some batteries.
yeah, you had some batteries and you had some baling wire. You saved the day.
Yeah.
So, you know, I wasn't going to make fun of your bucket, especially after you had to reach into it twice to sort me out.
Yeah.
I would never make fun of your bucket. Now, on the next hunt, if I don't need anything out of the bucket, then I will make fun of the bucket.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure to bring a flag too for you. So at least we're even that way.
Yeah. So the joke was is that we were talking about goose calling and stuff. And then someone had mentioned, you know, the importance of having a flag when you're goose hunting. And I was like, I was usually the flag guy. I didn't touch my calls. I was always in charge of the flag. So he had a little bit of fun making fun of me and throwing that out there any chance he could about me being the flag guy. But
I was walking on eggshells because I didn't know who you are that well yet. So I was like, okay, if I crack a joke, there's either two ways. I go up overboard or I stay in the boat. So
nah, you're good. That being said, I was impressed with you know, like when you go out hunting with someone new for the first time and you're like, okay, how is this going to go? Like how, you know, when they see birds, are they going to be, you know, just hammering on the calls? Are they going to be going nuts on calls and stuff like this? Right. So I'm always wondering what fellas are going to do, especially, so first time hunting with them. So we get out, we hide, you know, hide as best we can. We didn't do a very good job in the morning, but in the evening we sorted ourselves out when it come to hiding. And boy, I can tell you, Savi can run a call, but he loves coming onto that call so much that I just had to say, hey boys, let's tuck the calls away for a little bit here let's see what happens when we don't call. And okay, yeah. So Savi was good. He was like, oh yeah, no problem. And he tucked his calls away. Logan McNulty's like, I got to take him right off. Like he had to take his lanyard off his neck and put him in his bag. He's like, if it's hanging around my neck, I'm going to be blown into him. I'm like, holy, but boy, I tell you what, if there was any birds that were interested in us or didn't know where we were, they definitely knew where we were after the boys got done a couple minutes of calling there. That's for sure.
Kind of like those geese that you guys were calling that you couldn't see.
Yeah, the boys
who you calling? Who you calling to?
So we heard them call and we're like, fuck, there must be geese somewhere close by. So then all of a sudden you got Jason Sear, me, and Troy Blackwell, who Troy can run a call too for being 18. I was like, oh, this is good. We just start fucking hammering on them and it sounded good. And then those guys start calling. We're like, oh, well, we can't see anything, but we're calling. And we're like, fuck, so then we get off, when we get back to shore, these guys are like, oh, we couldn't see those geese, but they were close by, weren't they?
Yeah, this guy, I wasn't calling.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I hooked up Logan with a brand new goose call. So I was also like tuning his call in the boat or tweaking it too. So I was like, okay, try this. Does this sound better? And it's like, yeah, it sounds better. So
the only calling I done was every once in a while I'd pick up my my Drake whistle and do a little and then put her down. That was it. That was the extent of my calling. That was it.
But
Billy,
but what you said, that's like a really good lesson to a lot of guys, because again, usually I'm the one that you are. So I tell the guys, you know, let's do a lot less calling, see how the birds behave, and just work off of that, because a lot of time, like, the best calling is no calling. But I got a little overexcited that day. I was just happy to be out.
It's all good, buddy. We weren't seeing a whole ton of birds either, so it's all good. I got to switch here a little bit because this brand new blue, this brand new red sweater is just occupying up so much of this, and I'm just
it's emanating.
It emanating. Nice. I like that. So
I don't have that. It's a good thing I don't have that sweater on. The Benelli would look like the Kool-Aid man's eyes, and I'd be coming in going, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Duff man. Philly,
Yes.
New
Yeah.
gun today. New gun today.
Yes.
New gun,
You know,
eh?
This is the
We'll-
quietest Phil has been.
We'll show
I
it on
know.
the episode. Hold on. We'll bust it out for the episode.
Got his new gun. It's either he has the most understanding wife, or she has absolutely no idea how much money Phil spends on
Hey,
guns. One or
Damien,
the other.
I would like to point out that I got a new gun as well.
Did you?
No, she
Did
has
you
no
get
clue.
that? Did you get
Can't
that?
see the logo.
Did you get that
Huglu.
Huglu? Oh,
Yes, sir.
Huglu. Let's see that thing all the
Hit the
way from
show,
our
pal.
good friends at Wolverine Supplies.
What'd you get,
Surprise.
David?
It's downstairs in the basement in the gun cabinet.
Later.
Oh,
Anyways, so here's my new toy.
a responsible gun owner like you are.
Yeah,
Look at
my,
that.
Unlike
my,
Phil.
my
Screw
safe's
you guys.
right there.
Going.
Dave's going. He's like, screw you guys. So what'd you get,
So,
Philly? Obviously a
is-
Benelli.
It's the new Super Black Eagle 3 in 20 gauge, which they just came out with. And I opted for the 28-inch barrel, where normally kind of like the gold standard for most 20 gauges, whether it's semi-pump, whatever the case may be, is a 26, which is what I have on my M2 that everyone has seen 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But I opted for the 28-inch barrel. I'm going to give her a go this Saturday, and we'll see how she pans out.
28
I'm
inches
excited.
to go along with the 18 and a half foot boat, man. It's the way it gotta be.
Got to go big girl home.
Okay, or go home. That's right. But I must say, red is very becoming of you.
I'm not a red person.
It brings out the veins in your eyes.
Yeah, brings out the bloodshot eyes. But yeah, like this thing's like less than 6 pounds. It's like everyone should buy one.
Okay, let's see
Okay,
it, Dave.
hold on. David's back
Yeah. Let's see it, Dave.
with the hoogaloo.
The Hoogaloo.
Oh, you want-
Oh,
it's the Huglu 12 gauge over under. It is actually, for the price point, it feels good. It's really a nice gun. So
yeah.
Yeah.
When did you get it? Today?
Yesterday,
Okay, so you've been into the rain, so you haven't hunted, right?
not yet. So planning to this weekend. I was waiting for my second kicks to come in, but it's not in
Okay.
yet. So
So I had to laugh when I said it was raining and Dave hadn't been out. So Dave and I done a call the other night with Bobby Hayes and Eric Massey, and we were just chatting about some stuff. And I said, man, I love it. Like that's the day I love is when it's raining, and some days, like some of the pictures when you look at the marketing guys for waterfowl, right? For waterfowl hunting and gear and stuff. And it's usually like this sideways rain coming in and it just looks miserable. And you're like, yeah, that's what waterfowl hunting's all about. And then Bobby Hayes goes, yeah, no, I'm scouting on those days. I am not out on those days. And I'm like, yeah, well, he hunts every single day, right? So he's like the days when it's absolutely horrible, he's like, that's when I scout. And that's when Eric Massey, I never ever thought about this, but Eric Massey said this, and Dave, correct me if I say it wrong. But when I had said, those are the days I love, and you look at those waterfowlers and that's what you think a waterfowl hunter is out in those really shitty days, right? And Eric Massey said to me, he said, yeah, but Damien, that may have been like the reason why that picture sticks in your head is because that may have been the only day that dude could get out during the week. Like that's not the day he picked to go out. He worked Monday to Friday. Saturday is the only day that he gets to hunt. And it just happens to be shitty weather, and he's going regardless of the weather, right? It's not that that's what he's picked. It's just that's what he's forced to deal with, right? And I never ever thought about it. I never ever thought about, the fellas that just they get one day a week, they gotta go regardless of what's happening out there.
That's why they make Gore-Tex.
Very true.
Yep.
there was a few nice things that came out of that call.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, that the post that we made today, Dave, regarding the fact that, you know, people need, and by no means am I trying to say this is what people should do, because who am I? I'm just some chump. But when we've done that post today, it seemed to have got a lot of attention. We got a lot of shares, a lot of people reposted it, the whole thing. And it all had to do with the fact, listen, social media is making us, and this is my thoughts, but social media is making us believe that we need to limit out every time we go. And in order for a hunt to be successful, it has to be a limit. It has to be a pile of birds shot and crazy long shots, and you know what I mean? And that's such the wrong message that's being put out there. That's my feeling anyways. I don't know what you guys think about it.
It's funny you say that, because like any of those that like follow myself on Instagram, like I got like 150 pictures. I honestly think out of the 150, there's like 2 pile pictures.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well, you look at like, Maddie Wilson. Sorry. Yeah, go, Phil.
I've always said like smiles over piles, right? And I'm of the opinion, like, I don't need to shoot limits every time I go. Yeah, it's great. Sure, you know, you come home with a pile of meat, whatever. The fact that I got to go, I'm already successful.
So
right off the bat, the fact that I got to get out there and sit in the middle of nowhere and stare at the sky and do whatever, I am already successful.
I don't see anything wrong with a pile of birds. Yes, every now and again, share your success, put it up that you got a limit or whatever. But I mean, there has to be something else other than just pictures of limits, right? There has to be other things, right? Because that's definitely not the only reason I hunt. I mean, there was a while where I bet you every third day I was putting up a pile of birds for a good couple of years.
Yeah. During
waterfowl season. And I was looking at it myself near the end of it. I said, this is friggin' ridiculous. I said, I can't. It just doesn't make sense to continuously do it, because what's the point? It's just another picture of another pile of birds, right? So that's why
funny,
now
like,
I focus.
When I went to the Punisher camp 2 years ago when we were down at Long Point, I could have sat in camp all day.
Yeah.
I could have not even brought a gun.
Yeah.
Just as happy.
I spent the whole weekend hunting. You know how many shells I shot? 2. The first one I missed on that Woody Savi, and then the second one I got that. So I fired two shots at the same bird. That was all I shot the entire weekend, and I must say I had a great weekend. It was a lot of fun. But you know, to touch back onto this subject of, and listen, by no means am I saying if you're putting up pictures of piles of birds that you're wrong. That's not my, I don't have that right to say that to you. It's your social media. You do whatever you want. But the point that I'm trying to, is that what drew you to going out hunting in the first place? Was that what caught your attention and wanted and got you up at 4 o'clock in the morning to drive and to be out in the rain and the shitty weather and the whole bit and putting in the work and the gas for scouting? Is that what you done it for, was for that pile? Or was it because you got to share the blind with a new friend or an old buddy, or with your dog, or with a place that meant something to you that your father, grandfather, mentor had taken you to? That's what I'm trying to, get people to realize. Don't worry about the pile picks. Remember the reason that got you out there the very first time you went out. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like, I probably my best memories that I'm having, for example, with my father, because we started hunting since he moved to Ottawa. When I was younger, we had a working relationship. He owned a business. We all worked for him. We all worked in construction. But now that he's retired, you know, all the time I'm spending with my dad, it's either we're going ice fishing, hunting, turkey hunting, or deer hunting. Even when we come home empty-handed, a day with my dad spent in the field, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I think going back to social media, I think the problem is there hasn't been enough good examples of how to do those posts effective, because there's two sides of it, right? Why do people post? One, to get attention, get likes, but also
Yeah.
they want to share their journey with someone. And I think a challenge to everyone will be, how do you make a post that is not showing numbers, but also showing your experience? And I don't think there's been a lot of examples of that, or not enough examples that are known online to about, describing those experiences and the values of going out and spending in the outdoors. So 100% agree with what you're trying to say. And I'm on board with that, because piles, like I said, like if you look at my personal account, I had, when I was goose hunting, when I lived in Winchester, I was getting limits almost every single time I got out for goose. And it got to the point where, I still enjoy going out for goose. I still enjoy socializing with other guys, but needed the other challenge. So I've been hunting a lot of water. So going for ducks. And if you go out for ducks often, you'll see it, getting your limit every single time is pretty rare with ducks compared to geese. And just telling people, there's a lot of hard work. You should, cherish, getting some birds down. That's a reward enough, but going out there and the challenge of getting out there and getting all the gear, the scouting, that's just as rewarding. But yeah, it's finding the right post to describe that is probably going to be the next challenge.
Savvy, I was going through your Instagram there for your PVS calls, and I noticed you're A5 aficionado. We have another guy here who's an A5 aficionado.
Auto
My
five.
Auto 5. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm
So-
not an A5 aficionado.
Yeah. Well, the Auto 5 long short story about that is I kind of got inspired by a lot of the hunters in Arkansas that are remaking a lot of the classic calls from like the 1930s and 1960s. They're doing re-release of those. So the reason I picked up the A5 and alongside older guns like a 16 gauge Model 12 is that I wanted to bring back sort of that nostalgia of having calls that are handmade calls that are accurate for that period and post those pictures with the guns. But it just so happens I like that Auto 5 so much that I hunt with it quite often whenever it's a nice day, because I do cherish that older gun because it's a Belgian made 1965, and then my Model 12 is a 1958. So got some bismuth round with it, and I try not to damage those. But yeah, they're beautiful guns. I can't really complain about them.
Savvy, I wanted to go back to just about 2 minutes before when you had said something. You had talked about, things that you're seeing within social media and all this stuff. And by no means am I trying to say that you're new to hunting, because you're not. You've been doing it for a long time. But within the, I guess, industry, for lack of a better word, here in Ontario, Eastern Canada, you are somewhat new, especially on the social media side of things, and the business side of things. What are some of the biggest things that you're seeing, and if there's, so what do you like, and what's some things you would like to be able to change if you could?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good question. And we did touch base briefly in the boat when we were out fishing, out hunting for ducks.
Yeah.
So like I said, I've been hunting since God knows on, because it's part of our culture growing up. Being Northern Ontario, most of the hunting that we're exposed to is small game. So grouse, moose, deer. We didn't have the huge waterfowl population. So around here, since I moved to Ottawa here, been 2010. So just over 10 years, 11 years. I noticed when they're getting a lot of youth involved in hunting, they're getting involved in goose hunting because it's abundant, it's easy, you can accommodate a lot of people. Now, to that other part of the question you were asking about social media, well, for us is because in Northern Ontario, everybody hunts, you don't need to share your story. Everybody knows. You go to the butcher's going to tell you who brought back a moose, and then that's the talk of the town. But what I'm kind of noticing is, well, there's good things that I like to see. Is one, there's a lot more people getting involved in the sport or the whole thing of hunting, which is great for us because we're almost a dying breed. So it's great to see that new traction. The other negative part of that is that new traction could also bring negative attention. But also, what I've noticed, especially being fairly new in the call industry, I'm not sure if my logo or the way I present my calls, people think I'm a bigger company than what I am. I do custom calls, but some guys approach me thinking I'm a big organization that I can pump out 10,000 calls a year. So I got a lot of big organizations that reach out and be like, hey, would you be willing to sponsor or show and provide calls? But oftentimes I reach out to them and they say like, I would love to, but as a small business owner and managing risk, I'm trying to not put that money out there where, yes, I'll get great traction, but if I can't supply the demand, it's more of a negative on my company. So let's say I invest, X amount of dollars for publicity and I get 10,000 views on my website. Out of those 10,000 views, maybe you get 25% of those 10,000 views, I'll place an order. If I get that many orders right away, I won't be able to supply that. And then my rating or customer review, because people are very vocal nowadays. If they don't like what they see, they're extremely vocal. And
Very
often
much so.
they don't say the positive stuff. They'll say the negative stuff because they're enraged. They don't want to take the time to think about their thoughts. They just rush right away to say all the negative stuff. And unfortunately for small business owners, that's the worst thing that can happen because you go to Google reviews, it's quite easy to see the negative stuff.
And with that,
in fairness, Phil, the only reason why they're that vocal and such is because they're doing it on the Webernet and no one can slap them like a little bitch.
Yeah.
and that's just it. Like two things. Number one, people need to start leaving more positive reviews to outnumber these negative, because the negative right now is the loudest voice because it's the only voice. And the other thing is, sometimes when people have a negative opinion or a misrepresented opinion, you need to call those assholes out because they need to be learned. That's what they need.
Yeah. And we probably talked about this. You guys probably know us at the camp. I'm very, very quiet when it comes to voicing my opinion on like social medias and stuff like that. Again, just being that small business owner, I'm trying to mitigate risk. And by mitigating risk is also keeping a lot of those thoughts for myself. So someone say, oh, those calls suck. I'm like, all right, good. You know what? That's good. If you want to give me positive criticism, tell me what's wrong with those calls. And then I'm going to bring it back and fix them. And every time someone comes back, say, hey, this call doesn't work great, I sit down with them and I'll be like, okay, let's make this work. And I don't make better calls if I just assume everything's perfect. I can't improve my game.
And that's a good way, like throw it back at them. Like, okay, well then tell me what it is. Tell me how to fix it. Like good throwback. Like, don't just say, or, like maybe, listen, I don't know much about call making, but maybe there's a dud. I don't know, right? Maybe there is something that got mixed or got missed. So throw it back. Listen, what's wrong with the call? And let's work together and let's figure it out, because listen, I value you as a customer. You spent your hard-earned money on my product. Trust me, I don't want people out talking bad about my product. I want it to be good. So
I'm very well. Just to add, Phil. Like I'm very much of the opinion, calls are like guns. Not everyone's going to fit you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a number of gun manufacturers, models out there that I shoot them very well. And there's guns out there that I've shot where shit, I couldn't hit the ground if I dropped the damn thing.
Yeah.
And it's nice as, you as a call maker, like, again, like, just like duck calls, goose calls, like not everyone's going to fit you, but it's nice to have call makers like yourself. Okay, well, you're struggling. What's the issue? And you spending the time sitting down, and like I said, even like, I wish I was there on the weekend, but unfortunately I had to work, but you sitting down, like in the boat, in the field, out there with the guys, well, this isn't working. What's wrong? And we'll fix it right now. And then you in turn take that back and make a better product. But again, like it's that level of customer service that you're giving where, again, like I said, that call doesn't work for you. Well, let's make it work. And if it doesn't work, maybe we try a different call. And you investing that time into these hunters is what, speaks volumes and will definitely grow your business.
Well, some guys I've been on last minute Zoom calls, especially for like the turkey season, like with the slate calls, let's say they got their slate super wet or they've been rubbing their thumbs on it and you don't get that friction that you're supposed to. A guy calls me up, call's not working. I thought the striker was supposed to be waterproof. I had a quick Zoom call with them and I said, okay, if you got this sandpaper, sand it this way. If you have Scotch-Brite, sand it this way. And they were just blown away because they're like, wow, I didn't expect, you to call me right away and sort this out. And which was great. He shot a big bird that following morning. So I was super happy for him. And, we got a great experience. Just our relationship as a customer and a call maker, it's been a great experience. It's one of the things that drives me to do more as a small business owner. But Damien, just going back to your other question about the social media, I think I kind of derailed, and I'm known to derail.
We do that a lot on this show.
That's the nickname for this show, or the union, or the derail, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Well, just going back on the social media thing, and again, I got nothing wrong with these guys, but the one thing that kind of upsets me a bit is I've been hunting once, then I come back, I'm a pro staff and I'm a superstar. And then what happened is it's great to get those because they'll attract additional people to the sport. And that's what we want. The more people, the bigger voice we have in the community. That's excellent. But it's giving that wrong advice when you're new. And again, there's a lot of entitlement with younger hunters. Hopefully with age, they'll kind of fall into their senses. But it seems, again, especially with social media, it seems a bit of a competition of who can post what, get more likes. Because some of them make some big coin with getting some sponsorship for, let's say, if they get more likes. It is a source of revenue. And I know, if I was, let's say like 20 years younger and I was first entering, I would probably be in the same boat. But how can I get more likes? How can I get more followers? And hopefully I can get an income, because fuck working 9 to 5. If I can stay home and do some stuff and get an income, why not? Right. So I don't blame them. So we're in a weird transition where we're getting those mixed generation interacting together on the same platform. But again, it's giving out dangerous advice. Because it could be a very enjoyable sport, but it can also be very dangerous. And also you want to be as ethical as possible. So there is people need to be aware of whatever the advice they give out. They need to almost that, what's that book, Frankenstein, be in charge of your own monster that you create. That's the whole metaphor of that book. It's almost the same thing with social media. Whatever you post out there can create issues down the road and can just be a domino effect. So that's some of my pet peeves I see online.
Dave and I had a conversation a couple nights ago, and it sort of kind of all ties into this. And so we had talked about this culture and why do you do it and why are you out there and stuff like this. And it's easy for me, I guess, to sit back here and say, listen, I go out because I enjoy the company and my friends. I enjoy working my dog, whatever my reason is to get out, right? But am I, and I'm using me, Damien, as the example here, am I, standing true to the words that I say? And that's something that people, and I've got to do. You've got to reflect on your decisions and choices that you make, right? So you say one thing, but are you actually practicing what you preach, right? Because it's very easy to not to say the right things, which are what's going to be accepted and applauded, but then are you doing the exact same things that you're preaching, right? So that sort of stuff ties in. But then Dave and I were talking, and we kept throwing around this demographic of 18 to 25-year-olds. And you know what? I don't think that it is strictly the 18 to 25-year-olds. And I think the reason why we use that is because we see 18-year-old kids coming out, and they're the majority that's on the social media. But I want to throw it back to any new hunter. And that's what I think anybody, regardless of age, but if you're 50 years old, you're not spending all your time on social media. But if you're a 30-year-old person, man or woman, and listen, we're seeing it a lot lately, where there's these new hunters that are coming in, regardless of age, they are bombarded with social media of pile pics and the fact that you need to be a pro staff or you need to be an ambassador, you need to have this person sponsor you. Even the 30-year-olds are falling into it. It's not just the 18 to 25-year-old kids that's fallen into it. And we tend to peg these kids as the problem, but they're not the problem. I'm part of the problem. We're all part of the problem because we're all on social media and we're all doing, like, listen, I look at Matt Wilson, and we've had him on the show a million times. Matt Wilson has said he never puts a picture of a dead bird up on a social media. Never. I put pictures of dead birds up. I try not to put them up as often. I'd like to be able to have a thought-provoking post whenever we make a post on Punisher Waterfowl, but that's not always the case. And sometimes it's just a picture of dead birds. So, you know, like the entire industry, the entire social media world revolving around the waterfowl world, I think needs to take a step back and just gauge what it is that they're doing. That, like, am I right, Ediver, in saying that?
No, you're absolutely right. And like, just to that one point that you mentioned, you know, posting dead birds. I got in slack for posting a dead bird once, and it almost affected my career. And I had to be more cautious about it. Or it's either you post a bird that is, like, you know, a bit more respectable. Don't show it like with its head blasted off, or try not to show as much blood. And, you know, you're being more respectable to the animal that you harvest. But yeah, no, not posting a dead animal, it's very tricky because you're trying to be an advocate for the sport, but you're trying to be an advocate of showing, you know, good sportsmanship. This is the fruits of our labor, but without showing the end result, it is tricky, 100%.
Mark, I know. Oh, sorry, Mark. I
No,
know you've touched on it before about, you know, it's the and I don't want to peg everybody, but you've touched on it before. Like some of the big game hunters, like they go through, they put a lot of thought into when they post something that the picture looks as beautiful as they can make it, even though they've just harvested an animal. You've talked about this in the past.
Yeah, I've talked about it, and if you've seen the picture I put up of the moose,
Yeah,
that me and Dad and my cousin harvested there on Friday,
yeah,
you don't see any blood.
yeah,
And now, if I had to zoom out on that, the lips of that animal were covered in blood because it was a long shot, and there was blood. And
yeah.
where the way she fell and the way the blood ran down, there was blood on one of her legs. So if you had to zoom out, if I had to take that, I had different photos taken, and that was one of the clean shots. That was why I picked that photo, right?
Yeah.
So I just feel I got a lot of. It's not just you guys on my social media. I'm sorry, but I got a lot of friends and family who aren't anywhere near as big into hunting as we are.
Yeah.
And there's no need for me to go plastering stuff covered in blood all the time to them, or things being, or even there's different parts. Like maybe if I had quarters of moose hanging in the garage, and if I want to take a picture of that's a little different. That's processing the meat. That's a little different. It's not the same shock as when you have an animal that's just had its head blown off or something like that. So,
well, it's really tricky because you get two parts. You get one is you want to celebrate the fact that you had a successful hunt. You want to share to all your friends and family. You want to put the post right away because, you know, you're excited, the blood's flowing. But then again, it gives me anxiety posting photos sometimes because it's like, okay, is this okay? Is this not okay? Who am I going to offend? Who am I going to like? And, you know, sometimes the older you get, the less you care. But just with the amount of people I interact, either in the universities or in my other profession, I got to be careful, 100%. So it's definitely a tricky thing to do. And there's no really set rules of how to do it. There's not a book that says, you know, take the 3/4 view, make sure the antlers are posted like this, make sure there's no blood. And it's not easy. It's not intuitive either.
Dave,
if I
Oh, go Mark.
I also made it. I got my deer on 2 days ago. What's today? Thursday. On
Congrats.
Tuesday, I got my deer. So I had a doe tag, and I put up a post about that as well. And I do show blood in it, but it's blood on the arrow, and it's following the blood trail. It's like the little thing. And then I show the deer, and the deer in the photo, it's me shining my flashlight from 40 yards away, and you can see the deer laying on the side of the hill where it expired. And what I didn't do was show this. I could have had a picture of the deer. If you can see that.
Yeah, got it.
That's zoomed in. I didn't want to put that picture on of where I went up to the deer, because that to me was the most graphic of all the photos. And I just, I left that one out.
Yeah. Well, congrats on your deer, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Dave, I know, I've been doing a lot of talking regarding some of the conversations that we've had over the last few days. And sometimes I may miss important things, and I want you to, if there's anything that you need to get out there, because I think this is a big topic and something that I think we're going to dive more into in the future. So I really didn't want to step on your toes, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I think everything's good. Good work.
Okay. Hey, I've been waiting for this joke that you're going to, yeah, good job, Damien. I've been waiting for this joke that you're supposed to hit Savvy with.
Yeah, and I purposely finished a call just to show you for the
Is
call.
that my call?
Can you
Well,
show us
I
that
want to
again?
see. I want to see if it's not the black and white ebony, because this is the black ebony blank, and this is crosscut Bacote,
Yep.
and has a rose Coca-Cola tip with the brass on it.
Just the
That's
tip.
But
beautiful.
That
you did say
is-
you prefer the oil finish, so I'm just gonna rub this one in and say it's not yours.
As long as you didn't
Look-
say you were going to rub one out, that's all that matters.
But looking at that call, right? Like all these call makers, and you get that book like Calling the Wild. It's a book that shows like all the old calls from all back in the day and stuff. And you look through it, and right now I'm at the stage I'm trying to figure out a shape. And you and I had a good talk about it, and I've been talking and thinking about it and trying things and working on the lathe. And like most calls are like 2.5 to 3 inches long, and really there's not much different. Like now I know what it's like for my wife only having 3 inches to work with.
Yeah. Well,
I got it right. But no, like on a serious note, it
Oh,
is
that
tough
poor girl.
to not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it is
the-
tough, right?
Yeah, and we had a really good talk, because this is something I learned in my industry. It's that the whole branding and DNA of a product. So the example I gave Dave is take a Coke bottle, take a Tabasco bottle, take a ketchup bottle, and spray it white or spray it black. So there's no branding, you just get the silhouette. If you put it in a room, you tell people which one's the Tabasco bottle, which one's the Coke, and which one is the ketchup. By the shape alone or the silhouette, are people able to identify what that brand is? And that's almost, as a call maker, is what you have to define, is that silhouette. I got my styles, but I know in a couple of years I might change them, and I might get that Zen moment or that aha moment. So you know what, this is going to be my silhouette. And the one good example I was saying is the zinc calls from Fred. He has a really elegant silhouette. The way his bands, it's a straight wall, then it tapers. It's consistent throughout all the calls. So if you spray all of his calls black or white without any branding, you'll be able to see, that's part of the Zing family, because it has that brand DNA or that silhouette. And as a call maker, if you want to make specifically a whole family of calls, you kind of want that brand or that silhouette to transfer from one call to the other. My turkey calls, not my turkey call, but my grunt call compared to my number 2 has the same cut shoulder. It just elongated to 4 inches, because it's a grunt call, needs more room. It's just trying to establish that silhouette, and it's not easy. It's not easy whatsoever.
No, and I've been working on, I finally got access to my lathe again. And so I've been working at, okay, I'll just cut a shape out. drill a 5/8 hole. I'm not even like doing the reaming or anything. I'm just drilling a standard 5/8 hole, putting it on, making a shape and saying like, okay, well, this one came out. It looks like I crossed one of your calls with one of a moon pie. And then this one looks like I crossed this and that. And then you just start like wanting to chuck the damn things across the room and hopefully it breaks into something that looks good. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very hard to figure out a shape.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I see, this is me. I'm not sure if I was naive coming in this industry because I think, oh, there's not a lot of call makers. I'm just going to start making my own calls. But once I got into more of the social media, then I realized there's such a small community of call makers that make custom calls, especially there's a lot more in the US there is in Canada. And hopefully, we can get more guys, get a better community in the Canada of call makers. Because it's not like Arkansas. Arkansas, you can walk down the street, guys are turning calls in the garage. You can pretty much pull up, have a beer with them, and they'll show you what they're turning. But I think it also is just a product of the manufacturing process. Everything's turned on the lathe, right? So if you use that as your process, eventually all the stuff is going to be the same. Is until someone develops, a new method to make the calls that's not traditional. I think that's where it's going to break the form factor. But yeah, after talking with you with, some ideas of the calls, I kind of had a brain fart. I was like, geez, I should turn this on this weekend and make something completely off. And I might do it for yours. So not something that's going to look like my own calls. It might be completely left field. But as long as I get it out there and I send it to someone and it's out in the world, I'm fine with that.
Have you ever seen, I think it's called Bayou Beast calls, Bordellos?
Yeah. He has that scallop cut.
His is no. So for you guys that maybe don't follow call making, he takes some of the cane out of the swamp, and he'll take two different sizes of the cane, and he'll take one that's like the bigger one, and that'll be his barrel, and he'll take the smaller one, and he goes back to the traditional methods, and then he'll actually take like a piece of cedar that's been cut like a tree, and he'll put it through a round hole in a piece of metal and to make it round, and then he'll make his own reeds out of combs and stuff like that. Like his are very, very traditional calls. And it just goes to show you like how simplistic it was back in the day to make these calls. Yeah. And here I am using a lathe. Yeah, exactly.
I don't have it, but I'm just trying to just to show you an example of this is an older call versus like what the modern stuff is coming out with. And you can see the size difference. Mm-hmm. The older calls, but this one's not that old. This one's from probably 85.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's again, back to what I was saying is when I entered the custom call, I didn't realize there was a small community in social media. Again, going back to social media, things that I do like and things I dislike. The one things I do like is connecting to people that have the same common interests in the sport. So either hunting, but also call making. So I'm in good contact, good terms with some Ontario call makers or even guys across Canada. Dave from Naughty Beaver, we talk quite often. We compliment each other. We help each other out. Corey Atkinson, I think correctly. Arkerton, we've been following each other's progress on social media. It's been great. There's a new guy, Cody, who's been starting to make some calls. A guy who's in Iroquois. I just feel great that like some guys got me started in the industry, guys from Arkansas, and now I feel I can pass that knowledge to Corey, who's getting into it. And eventually, I'm hoping 10 years from now we get a good custom call community in Canada. Because a lot of the waterfowl hunting is the better waterfowl hunting is in Canada. It's mostly Saskatchewan, for example. But eventually, if everybody keeps working at it, hopefully it'll get there. But that will be awesome to see in a couple of years if we can get there.
And the waterfowl community up here is it's a lot bigger than people would think. Like there's all kinds of small garage shops that you wouldn't even know about. Like I've been doing turkey calls now for 8-9 years, but you wouldn't know where you are that I've been doing that. And that's because I just make these calls out of like whatever I have laying around and make sure that every new youth hunter has a call, right? I don't put them on Facebook.
I'm sorry,
or
David.
advertise them.
It's slightly better than just whatever the fuck you have laying around.
Well, now, but like that's what it was 8 years ago.
Because I have two and they're fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks. Now,
Yeah, you show me the pictures.
Mine's
of those-
nice. Mine's nicer than yours, though, Phil. Just saying.
I don't know about that.
here's a question for you guys. Maybe I'm stealing some thunder from an upcoming thing, but I proposed this question to our friend Bobby Hayes there. And Damien, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I do.
So to hunt ducks, right? Very few things you really need. You need your gun, you need your ammo, you need your waterfowl stamp, your migratory stamp, and your hunting license and your PAL. Is the next thing you buy a call, like a duck call, or a good
Or a
set of
shotgun.
binoculars? Or a good
Or
set of
shotgun.
binoculars, right? And the reason that this came up is because so many people are there and they're thinking about like, man, I got to call ducks in. I got to call ducks in. Listen, guys, if you are out there and you don't know if there's ducks around, you can't call a duck from 10 ponds over if you're in the wrong pond. You can find them with the binoculars. So if you're going to spend some money, and I'm sorry if I take a sail away from you there, Philly, but
No, I'm 100% agreeing with you, because the only successful hunts I have is when I put the work into scout. If I don't scout, you can tell.
Yeah.
I'm working my ass off to get some traffic.
so
Well, I watched Dave ask that question to Bobby Hayes, and Bobby Hayes never hesitated for a microsecond. He was like, binoculars.
Yep. I said, Bobby, I got $150. Do I spend it on one of your calls, or do I buy a set of binoculars? Binoculars.
Yeah.
Just without a doubt. And
Yeah. Never even thought about it.
100%,
Never even thought
100% agree.
You
But-
need to find ducks before you
Yeah.
can call the ducks.
and I'm just
Or-
hoping that that's a
That
little
was-
bit educational here.
That was deep.
That was very deep. I believe I read that once in The Art of War by
You must find the ducks before you shall call the ducks.
Sun Tzu.
That's cool.
Sun Tzu.
Is someone gonna make a t-shirt about that? Because that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, there's always the other option. Before you even get the decoys, you can get a shot cam.
No.
You're referring to a post on social media
I
recently.
don't know what you're talking about, but you know,
boy. No.
Oh yeah, I remember that post.
No.
you could always get a shot cam right? For the grand.
Going-
But
Yeah, do
Dave,
it
going
for the
back to
gram,
your,
bro.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, going back to your comment, when I got into duck hunting, it was my parents' pond, and it was a very long pond. It used to be a farmer's field. My grandfather used to cultivate it, but then the beaver blocked it, and then it just became a pond, and we couldn't reverse it. So it was very long. But I was shooting ducks without a call, or even decoys. It's just I knew where the ducks were, and as part of the scouting, I said, okay, the wind's on this side. I'm gonna put myself on this end of the pond, and I was shooting ducks before even knowing how to use a call, even owning a call. So 100%, get your binoculars. And going back to the comment that Dana was saying about a lot of the new hunters, I don't think there's enough emphasis on scouting and the value of scouting on social media. People don't realize, because one of the reasons why I don't goose hunt as much is when I lived in Winchester, it was easier for me to go scout and find those fields and get permission. Being in Stittsville, it's a bit more difficult. And also, I don't hunt with the same group of guys. Before, they used to always rely on us to do all the scouting, and I kind of got fed up. But all the good hunts was the ones that once we woke up early, follow the birds when they get off the roost, find out where they land, in which field, get permission. We were always guaranteed a pile. But we put in the work of the scouting. So again, going back to that one comment about social media, is emphasizing the importance of scouting if you want piles, if piles are important to you.
And watching my Instagram to see where I got my pile is not scouting. That's just Instagram following you, dicks.
Oh, that I hate. Yeah. When I'm ice fishing and I post, let's say, a couple of walleyes that I caught, I get a message like, hey, I'll give you $20 if you tell me where that spot is. I got some friends that are coming
Really?
from Toronto.
Hey,
Oh yeah. And then
20
what
bucks
I
is
said-
20 bucks. I've done worse.
Yeah,
already.
no. What I'll do is I'll refer. I say, call this number. I'll tell you what it is. It's a guiding service, and they're like, oh, you want to book us in? And it's like, there's guys who earn a living to finding out where all those reefs are in the winter to put people on fish, and they're really good at what they do. They put a lot of time and effort. Call those guys, pay their rates. You're going to be guaranteed some fish. But I could also been a dick and just say, take the $20 and then send them somewhere else where there's a whole bunch of perch instead.
And I don't know why it's so hard, but for fishing, now that we're on this subject and we're off on this 10,
Okay,
All
1
you gotta
minute
do-
on fishing.
all you got to do is drive around your damn boat and look where everyone else is fishing. The guys who have the expensive boats with all the gear, look at where they're fishing.
Guys, we are over that 60-minute mark, and as usual, we could probably go for another hour. But
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave.
That should be the picture we use for the next video.
Move
For the next-
closer to the house, Damien.
hey, how about now?
Go on.
Fuck.
We're
Good.
good.
More better.
Okay. Sorry, I'll talk to Elon later.
Right?
Fellas, we're at about that 60-minute mark. We could go for another 60 minutes, I'm sure. So we'll end it there. Savi, buddy, thank you so much for coming on. I think you're going to be a return guest, just because I think we've just scratched the surface, buddy, with you. And
I cleaned part of the shop just so I could be on camera.
wow, we appreciate it. We
Well,
really
in fairness,
do.
Up
He,
the
he does
poster.
have a nice shirt on.
Does have a
Is that a
nice
Filson?
watch. Oh,
That's a
it's a
Filson.
Filson. Is it a Filson shirt? Are you wearing a Filson shirt, Savvy?
He doesn't
Hey,
even
No.
know.
did it
No.
cost you $200? Did that
No, I
shirt
got it
cost you?
wears. I literally
Okay, so
bought
it's
it
not a
wears.
Filson then. It's not a
No.
Filson.
But
Guys.
it's a nice plaid.
Thanks.
Nice.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Someone who likes plaid, who's a plaid connoisseur. Peace out.
He's getting married soon. He didn't pick that shirt. He was told to wear it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
remember, you can say I don't.
No, I won't. No, I won't. But what's that? Someone sent me the funniest meme because I posted some of the engagement photos on my social media page. And
Mhm.
someone sent me the funniest meme. It's like, you know, when the bride in the engagement shoot, she looks like a goddess. She looks beautiful. And then you got the man who's just wearing the cleanest pants that he owns.
And then there's the miserable
Just
prick
show-
standing
and
next
just
to her.
Yeah, it just shows up. And it's honestly true. All my pants are obviously covered in sawdust or blood or whatever.
Oh.
So it's the cleanest
That's
shirt
awesome.
that I own.
My
Good problem to
favorite's
have.
that new one, the new video going around, and it's just like, we were happy, and then this happened, and blah blah blah, and then it's this lady, and she's like, my husband and I were happy for 20 years. They were the greatest 20 years of our lives. And then the next cut, it cuts to like, and then we met each other.
Big time.
Oh.
Big time. Okay, fellas. Listen, Savvy, buddy, thank you so much for coming on the show, dealing with us. As you can tell, we're all over the place. Like it is, and it's a bunch of dudes that are all A-type personalities. Actually, you know what? Mark and Phil never really butt in. It's usually just me and Dave. And actually, Dave don't do it that much. So really,
For the
it's
most
only
part,
me
we
that
just
butts
have
in.
When I speak,
just-
you guys shut up, so that's fine.
We just have the attention span of a gerbil.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if this was the first episode that you've ever watched of the Union 0430, you've missed some great stuff. So please check us out. The thing that I want everybody to know, and one thing that we keep hearing about, is that people tell us that they love it when we say that we acknowledge the fact that we're not experts. We are just a bunch of dudes that love talking bird hunting, and we don't mind stirring up a little bit of shit every once in a while too, especially Philly.
Yeah,
So
like shit, you know,
actually,
we've got nothing better to do once a week for an hour, so we get together. and
actually,
just fucking-
Dave was in a little bit of a mood today too. So Dave was going. He had his jujitsu shorts on and everything. He was ready to go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
everybody was kung fu fighting.
That's right. That's right. So Dave was eating in the mood. Listen, everybody, this is us. We are unpolished. We are as neutral and as I don't even know.
As possible.
This is us. You either love us or you hate us. But please stick around. We have some really good things coming up. in the future that we really can't get too much into right now, but some really cool things coming up. But I will leave you with this. It has never been done in the waterfowling world ever. Correct, Dave?
What?
Yeah.
Me
I
and
don't
Phil
think-
don't even know.
You and Phil don't even know. No.
We're part of the show. We don't even fucking know.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's
talking
never been
later.
done. Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for taking the time to spend with us, hang out with us, hear us ramble on about things. Listen, check out PVS calls. I'm telling you, the calls sound great. They look beautiful. Like our good friend Ryan always says, hey, listen, they can look good, but they got to sound good. And I can promise you that both of them sound and look amazing. Check them out. Small business. And listen, just because somebody owns a business, don't think that they're this big, huge, multi-million-dollar corporation. Just a dude in a spare time making some calls. Support them. Be nice to one another. Dave, did you want to say something?
Yeah, if you have an issue with a small business, talk to the small business. Don't be dicks.
Spend some money on the small businesses, you cheap bastards.
Yeah, I love it. Philly, give us a quote.
My cat's breath smells like cat food.
I just want to see Phil hold up that call again.
Fun.
That's dead fucking sexy.
That is, dead sexy.
That's dead sexy.
I honestly don't know what to do with it. I'm not sure if I want to keep it for myself or put it for auction. So not sure yet.
All right.
I
I got an
accepting-
idea. You can give it to Punisher Waterfowl and we can do a giveaway. Just throwing that out there.
You know what? That's a good idea. Send me your mailing address.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Way to put him on the spot, eh?
No,
I've already talked to him. Hey, chill out. I've already talked to him about it. Chill
You
out.
keep your greasy
This
dick
is-
beaters off that call.
See, there's this other one I'm working on as well, but this one's still not in the finished
Yeah,
stages.
the other one was more sexy.
Well,
I
this
don't know.
is-
That one gets shined
This is
up.
like an infant.
Okay.
Show the blank. Show the blank.
Yeah, so this is your blank. So this is
Oh!
that's a black and white ebony.
See?
That's like all over the place.
That's the most excited I've seen Dave in like months.
I can always just ship it like this and be like, I bet you can't turn this shape.
Yeah.
Everybody, this was episode 71 of the Union. We are signing off for real this time. Big love. Until next time.